Good evening, Board of Directors of the International Global Network, Excellencies, future leaders, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I'm honored to be here since this event also represents an opportunity to share my experience and some knowledge with the future leaders about how to strengthen multilateralism. We have been asked to talk about the role of the youth to strengthen multilateralism, but I believe that for doing so, we must talk about serious irregularities that arise in multilateral negotiations. In my participation in different negotiations, I have been able to witness many of them, and I will mention some as an example in order to contribute to know more about the real functioning of these spaces. In the WTO, I could see when the president of a ministerial conference, abusing its functions, threatened sovereign countries with approving a declaration that moved away from consensus, affecting the interests of the majority. Also, developed countries that threaten developing countries with the elimination of tariff preferences if they do not withdraw its objections to a text proposal submitted by a developed country. And this is not an isolated case. The use of blackmail and threats is something recurrent in multilateral negotiations. In the UNTAC, I have also seen how developed countries have threatened to eliminate all development aid to countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America when they have submitted text proposals calling for a revision of the international financial system in the ministerial declaration. In addition, some tactics are used with the complicity of international civil servants aimed at attrition of delegations to achieve forced consensus originating in fatigue and exhaustion. In the negotiations of climate change, I witnessed how the presidency of a ministerial conference presented again and again with simple changes of form and not of substance, a text of declaration that was rejected by most countries because it ignored their positions and interests. Language specialists, experts in changing everything to change nothing, were doing their job, generating frustration among the delegations. Other tactics are to call meetings late at night in places that don't meet the conditions to accommodate most delegations, or calling delegations to separate meetings to distract them from participating in meetings that are held in parallel where very important decisions are taken. But we also see various abnormalities in other multilateral scenarios, as in the case of the Human Rights Council, where politically motivated reports are prepared with very serious methodological deficiencies, ranging from the use of unverifiable, infused, or invented sources through the use of information with profound inconsistencies, incomplete, or chosen in an interested, biased, and selective manner, demonstrating the use of some institutions of multilateralism as an instrument of coercion and blackmail of countries or to promote regime changes in others. We could mention many shortcomings of multilateralism, but I don't want to end without referring to the inability to act in the face of violation or transgressions of fundamental principles, which in turn has given ways for some countries to feel free to violate international law with total impunity. And finally, the attempt by some countries to replace international law with what some call a rules-based order that no one knows, and which really means that the great powers want rules for the rest of the world, leaving aside the principles contained in the Charter of the United Nations that have cost humanity millions of lives. Against this backdrop, diplomats must strive to strengthen multilateralism, and in that regard, one way is the mobilization of healthy forces to defend the principles of the Charter of the United Nations and to promote the adherence of all states without exceptions to them. We are also obliged to ensure that international civil servants comply with the mandate given to them by states so as to ensure balanced behavior by the organs of the multilateral system. We diplomats are in the duty to demand an urgent ratification to redirect the institution of the multilateral system so that, far from being instruments where some want to win at the expense of others, dialogue and cooperation are promoted and answers are sought to the serious problems facing humanity. But the strengthening of multilateralism can also be a collective task, where youth, with its creativity, audacity, and courage, has an important role to play. Many of you surely will participate in international negotiations, either as delegates from your countries or as international civil servants. So it is a matter of you, through the in-depth study of the dynamics of multilateralism, knowing how this really works and being aware that this is not a beauty contest, but very complex scenarios that can also be very perverse, where there are great pressures and where decisions are made affecting the lives of millions of people around the world. You also have to be critical and courageous and take clear positions, even when that is far from what some conveniently want to call politically correct. It is often necessary to overcome the formalities of the language of international scenarios and defend and promote the principles contained in the Charter of the United Nations. Hence, you, with your audacity, can be factors of change toward the multilateralism that we need, that should be more just, transparent, respectful, democratic, and balanced. Thank you so much.